Hello everyone and welcome to my review for Jujutsu Kaisen chapter 147. Before I get into this week's review, I of course have to mention my subscriber goal for 2021, hitting 5,000 by the end of the year. So if you're already a fan of my videos and you're not subscribed, you might as well help me reach that milestone. The other thing is my Patreon, if you want to help support me and the channel directly, or you want to get access to some solo leveling and omniscient reader reviews, there's a link to my Patreon down in the description. You can check that out if you're interested. With that out of the way, let's get on with the review. This week's chapter kind of hit me out of nowhere. I had gotten a small warning before reading it that it would surprise me, and it did, because I did not expect this in the slightest. It's like, if I could think of any comparison, it's like when you're watching a TV show, and there's been like this long-running arc going on, and then just this one episode comes out of nowhere that has like this one self-contained story that has pretty much nothing to do with the rest of the arc, and you're just like, where the fuck did this come from? Not necessarily good or bad, just like, I did not see this coming. And that's this chapter for me, because we got a chapter all about Principal Yaga. The complaint I have seen from some people in the comments is that the pacing is a little crazy. It's a little too fast-paced. That the stuff that happened in this chapter could have been split up over several chapters and probably would have been better. I don't agree or disagree. I think it's fine the way it is, though having more pages to spread this story out over would probably be a good thing. So, first thing that we learn about Yaga is after Panda's creation, he was locked up and the higher-ups identified him as a special grade, and sends him to indefinite imprisonment. So, a few things to take from this. First of all, holy shit, Yaga was a special grade for like 5 minutes. This is fascinating, because this gives us some insight into what exactly the standard is for someone becoming special grade, at least as a sorcerer. So the reason they did this is because he created Panda, who is a self-replenishing cursed doll, which is something that does not exist otherwise. It's intelligent and it's self-sustaining. It's an independent living creature, basically. And no one else knows how to make these. So if Yaga was able to make these on purpose and could keep doing it, he could create an army. So that's the reason he was given his special grade designation for like a little bit. It seems like because he said he wasn't aware of how it was made, like he was like, oh, I didn't make it intentionally, I don't understand how I made it. That was probably why they brought him back to a grade 1. But this means that the special grade designation is not just, oh, you're broken, like you're just hacked as fuck, and no one else can beat you. It seems like the qualification for special grade is that you are an anomaly, and that you break the rules for how the Jujutsu world is supposed to work, to various degrees. Gojo, well, Limitless and the Six Eyes, it's impossible for him to run out of cursed energy, and then you have all of his other techniques, which are broken. Yeah, most special grades, the ones that we have seen fairly in depth, they are broken. It seems like anomalies when it comes to Jujutsu are usually super powerful because the rules don't apply to them. Geto with curse manipulation, we have gone over how broken curse manipulation is, limitless potential for absorbing curses, and the ability to take their techniques. That breaks the rules as well. I mean, you're only supposed to have one curse technique. Generally. I mean, like, you may have multiple techniques or special moves, but you have, like, one technique. Like, 10 Shadow. Megumi only has 10 Shadow. He's not gonna get fucking, I don't know, Boogie Woogie out of nowhere. But with curse manipulation, you can have as many curse techniques as you have curses, so that breaks the rules. Pretty much the same thing for Yuta, along with his ungodly amounts of cursed energy. And we don't know what the deal with Yuki is yet. We have yet to find out. We're going to at some point. But this means that she's not necessarily super powerful. It's not like she's going to be like, oh, I snap my fingers and the whole city explodes. It'll be something where it's like, holy shit, the rules that apply to everyone else in this specific field do not apply to you. So for Yaga's case, he had the potential to create an entire army of intelligent, self-sustaining dolls that would follow him, and presumably, per the fears of the higher-ups, would be used to overthrow them or something. This also shows that it seems like the special grade designation is more of it's more of a warning label than a badge of honor. The higher-ups are like, oh, fuck, you're a special grade? Ah, Jesus. Yeah, just goes to further show what a bunch of scumbags they all are. Although we give plenty of evidence of them being scumbags in this chapter. So, Yaga was lying about not knowing how to make intelligent cursed corpses, self-sustaining cursed corpses, because he has a bunch of them. And we find out how he makes them. To give you a very short summary of it, he takes someone else's soul and he copies the information into a doll. And through this method, he pretty much created like a whole little forest full of these cursed corpses that were created from dead people. This is where Kusakabe comes into the picture. So I'd say one of the things that actually surprised me most about this chapter, maybe a little less than Yaga being a special grade at one point, is Kusakabe is actually really important in this chapter, because we find out that his nephew, his sister's son, was someone who had died, and Yaga had effectively brought him back as one of his cursed corpses. And this was like this was a really great thing for his sister who, like, lost her son. So it was because of that Kusakabe felt indebted to Yaga, because, I mean, like, this clearly means a lot to his sister. He seems to care a lot about her. I would assume she's a sister. But this was, like, a really big emotional deal for him. Like, he's like, shaking as he thanks Yaga for this. So even a coward like Kusakabe has to step up to repay, Yaga, his debt to Yaga. Everything that Yaga did for him and his sister. So I've been wanting to see some more from Kusakabe, because if I'm remembering correctly, he is the second-year teacher. So he's going to be fairly important at some point, I hope. So it's good to get some more insight into his character and a little bit of backstory for him. And he frees Panda, who's now imprisoned because he was being used as bait to lure in Yaga. If you recall, after the Shibuya incident, I think Yaga was to be given the death sentence because of instigating Gojo and Geto into, doing the Shibuya incident, which is total bullshit. But they seem to have used that as an excuse for this little plot going on in this chapter, that being getting him to tell them the secret to making a independent cursed corpse. We see this guy with a face mask and a scar over his eye. Now, I haven't checked back on hidden inventory, but this guy reminds me a hell of a lot of those guys from Q, the cursed user organization that Gojo and Geto single-handedly destroyed just by beating, like, two of their strongest soldiers. So I'm wondering if this guy has been recruited and is now one of the goons for the higher-ups. It would make a lot of sense, because they're a bunch of hypocritical scumbags, so hiring a former curse user is, like, no surprise for them, really. So Gakuganji shows up. Him and Yaga fight off-screen, unfortunately. And Yaga is fatally wounded, but he does break Gakuganji's guitar, and Gakuganji does seem a little bit roughed up. So, since he didn't even have any cursed corpses, like, he was pretty much caught by surprise in an ambush, Yaga was still able to put up a fairly decent fight. We know that Yaga's actually able to do, like, hand-to-hand combat, because that's how he taught Panda, so I'd assume he'd fight in, like, kind of the same way. But he is ultimately fatally wounded, and it's at this moment before he dies that he explains to Gakuganji the process for creating an independent cursed corpse, because he always knew, but never wanted to share the information with anyone. And the reason that he tells Gakuganji now is because this knowledge is a curse for him. It's like, now you're burdened with this knowledge on how to make this, which was something only I knew before. So now I'm passing it on to you because fuck you. And Gakuganji himself says he could have avoided execution if he had shared this information. So it goes to show that the higher-ups didn't give a fuck about this whole, oh, Yaga instigated Gojo and Geto into causing the Shibuya incident. It was like, no, this is an excuse to put Yaga into a position where he would be forced to share the information for how to make an independent cursed corpse. So that whole reasoning was a bunch of bullshit. Panda shows up, Yaga dies. Yaga's dead, seemingly. So, I don't know how I feel about that. I thought it was a pretty good death scene, but I thought there was a lot that Gege could have done with Yaga, because we really didn't see him do much of anything during the series. So I thought he had a lot of potential, and I'm not sure not working with that is a good idea. I mentioned back when the Shibuya incident was still going on with a lot of the stuff that was happening, talking about the Heian era and the relationship between Japan and the rest of the world if the existence of cursed energy is revealed. There is potential content for hundreds of chapters set up that Gege could work with and it not seem like a stretch. It would not seem like they're kind of milking it to make money. But when Gege says that they plan on finishing the story within 2 years, I hope they're not rushing and not taking opportunities to expand and explore various different parts of the story, just for the sake of finishing it within a certain deadline. So I'm hoping that's not what happened with Yaga. Maybe this isn't the end for Yaga. Because we've just found out in this chapter that you're able to copy the information of someone's soul and put it into an independent cursed corpse. So it's completely possible that Yaga is going to come back as a cursed corpse. So who knows? But yeah, Panda does not hate Gakuganji because he's not like humans, and he understands that Gakuganji is just following orders from the higher-ups. But that doesn't mean that he won't cry, because even Panda cries. Now, here's something I thought about. I think at least 1 or 2 people brought it up in the comments for the reaction, is that Yaga says that he's going to see his son. And Kusakabe says that Panda was imprisoned to be used as bait for Yaga. So presumably, this was Yaga going on his way to find Panda. So he considers Panda to be his son. Now, the very interesting thing about this is, unless I'm completely mistaken, unless I'm entirely misremembering something, Yaga is divorced. Yaga used to be married, he used to have a wife, and then he got divorced. And I think it's a possibility that the cause of that divorce was their son died. As some of you may know, the death of a child is not great for marriage. If a kid dies, there is a very good chance that that marriage is not going to last much longer. It's just, you can't deal with it. It's just too much. So it's possible that Yaga's son died, which resulted in his marriage ending, and then he brought his son back as Panda. That's kind of freaky. That's some freaky shit there. We'll see if that's ever expanded on or revealed. Now that we know how cursed corpses like Panda are created, the possibility is open that Yaga could come back as a cursed corpse and share that information with us, but who knows? So yeah, once again, this chapter really came out of nowhere for me. I think for a lot of people, it was just completely out of the blue, this chapter. But I thought overall it was really good. It evoked some feelings within me, and I feel like any chapter that does that is a pretty good chapter. So yeah, unfortunately, we're going to be waiting 3 weeks until the next chapter, because there's Golden Week next week, and then Jujutsu is going to be on break the week after that. So 2 weeks of hiatus, meaning 3 weeks until the next chapter. What the fuck am I going to do? This is the main series for the channel. Fortunately, we have some other series, and I'm going to be doing some other videos. I plan on doing a character discussion on Yuta. I want to do a ranking video talking about curse techniques. I'll probably do a community poll asking you guys which one you want to see first. And I'm watching the Chimera Ant arc right now, so whenever I'm done with that, ideally, probably sometime soon with how eager I am to keep watching it, I'll be doing a rambling video on that, so you can expect that as well. So, even though we're going to be without a new Jujutsu chapter for a while, I will still be giving you guys some Jujutsu content and some other stuff. So, if you enjoyed this review, please be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and click that notification bell so you don't miss any of my uploads. I do Jujutsu Kaisen chapter reactions and reviews every week, or, every week we get a chapter. If you enjoy other series such as Record of Ragnarok, Kengan Omega, Black Clover, and Kaiju number 8, I do videos in those series as well, so if you're interested in those, you should definitely check out my channel. If you enjoy discussing Jujutsu Kaisen with other people, or you just enjoy the content I produce on this channel, I highly suggest you check out my Discord server. I have a link to that down in the description. Since it's the end of the video, it's time to give a shout out to my wonderful patrons, Archbearer CJ2K, Fuse, Neo, Kyrie Simmons, Dejan Redden, Honey Mustard, Zach Rowitz, K-God, Holly Walker, Angel Does It, Chris Redfield, Brendan Lee, and Scrash23. Thank you all very much for supporting me on Patreon. I greatly appreciate it. And if you too want to get a shout out at the end of videos or access to some extra content, you can always become a patron as well. There's a link to my Patreon down in the description. Thanks for watching. I'll see you guys around. Take care.